Ooh. All right, so we're gonna get right into this lesson. Let me share my screen. Today, where are we? Share. Perfect. So we're going over a topic that I honestly wish was talked about a little bit more. And I wish when I first started when I first ever hired a coach and did a deficit, right? Did a calorie deficit. This was something that really wasn't taught to me. And because of that, I felt like there was something wrong with me and that I was doing something wrong. Even up until like a couple years ago, I hired somebody again and I had like an incident where I was like in a deficit, it was hard. I was grinding. I was hungry. I went out to eat and then I overate a little bit. And I remember messaging her and I was like, why do I do this? Like, I don't understand why does this happen to me? People make it seem so easy. Like I'm just trying to have a good relationship with food. And then she just mentioned, she's like, well, there's nothing really wrong with you. You just were in a calorie deficit and you were hungry. Your body actually responds that way. So now fast forward several years, right? When I think to the fat loss phase that I'm doing right now, I haven't done one in years, right? When I think about it now and the process that I'm going through right now, it has been very like anticlimactic. It's been not as dramatic as it usually has been in the past. And of course, it's been easier for me to stick to. And that's what I'm going to walk you through today, how to just make it suck a little bit less. So yeah, let's just go into it. So today's agenda, we're going to talk food hacks. We're going to talk planning. We're going to talk habits, and we're going to talk mindset. All of these things are very, very important in a calorie deficit. So before we start, one thing that I just, again, want to normalize. A body transformation is not easy. All right. So I want to reassure you right now, because if you can stop being so down on yourself when things get tough, we can start to be more productive and we can stay on track. So a body transformation is not easy. When you remind yourself of that and when you tell yourself that, you kind of get yourself out of this like pity party and then you just like start doing the work. It's like if you were going to start a business today, right? Obviously starting a business is not easy and you know that. And then you go in and you grind and you put in the hours and you're doing and you're doing and you're doing and you just keep going because of where it's going to lead you. It's kind of the same exact way. Like, it's not easy, but when we can normalize that, we can keep pushing. All right. There is nothing wrong with you. If you ever struggle, if you're ever getting hungry, if you're ever going out to eat and you're like, this kind of sucks a little bit, like there is nothing wrong with you. And the more we can embrace the suck, the more we can just push through it. Right? You are not dying because you are hungry. I remember this was told to me a while ago. It's like, well, if your body is hungry, that means that, it needs to be fed or it's starving and like you need to give it food. But the reality is, in a calorie deficit, you are going to get hungry. Like there is absolutely no way around that. Sometimes we get hungrier than others. All right. Sometimes we can feel like we had exactly how many calories one day and you're like super hungry, and then another day and you're not hungry at all, right? But hunger is 100% normal when you are bringing calories down. Okay. Your cravings are valid. So if you're ever feeling cravings, again, there's nothing wrong with your willpower. There's nothing wrong with you. Your cravings are 100% valid. We all get them. So let's normalize it. And sometimes this shit just sucks. Like, we go through this transformation and it is so freaking empowering and it makes us feel so good. And eventually when we are done tracking and everything, like it's fucking awesome. But when you're in the grind, sometimes it just kind of sucks a little bit. But when we can embrace the suck, we can keep pushing on in this journey. We can start seeing it as something that, doesn't really suck that much. Another example with kind of like sometimes this shit just sucks is when we go to the gym. I'll be the first one to say, you guys hear me say it all the time. Like, you guys definitely know this. Sometimes you don't want to go to the gym. Sometimes like you're like, this shit just sucks. Like you wake up early, you go to work, anything that you're doing, sometimes shit just sucks. but you got to keep doing it. And then we start to view things a little bit different. Like, oh, at least I have a job that I can go to work to in the morning. Oh, at least I have the ability to go for a walk in the morning. At least I have the ability to go to the gym, right? I am privileged, right? So we start to reframe that a little bit. But the reality is sometimes this shit just sucks. All right. So, which is more of a reason to work hard and really get things done. Something that I've also said to most of you is like, this is a for now thing. And the harder that you work, especially when you go into a fat loss phase, the easier that you can get it over with. So that's something that pushes me because I really don't like being in calorie deficit, hence why I haven't done it in a couple of years, but I really don't like doing it. And when I do it, I'm going to do it and I'm going to get it over with and I'm not going to let it drag out. So something that maybe you have ran into or maybe you haven't, other people have, is we're kind of back and forth. We hit our calories, we kind of don't, like we're doing so well for 3 weeks and then we fall off for like 2 weeks. Like when you drag things on like that for an extended period of time, it just makes things harder. All right. So again, today is kind of just to normalize that a little bit so that we can just keep on track and get things done. I want to get you out of this deficit. I want to get you to the point where you don't have to track anymore. And all of that is coming. All right. A lot of you, even right now, are in intuitive phases and it is so awesome. And you're like, oh, it's so nice to not have to track. Right. At first, you get a little bit nervous, all these things, but we do everything in phases. So just do the phase that you're in right now, get it done, work hard so that we can move forward. So before we get into today's lesson, I'm going to talk about 5 different things that, again, will make your calorie deficit suck a little bit less, but I'm a little science geek. So sometimes understanding the science of things helps me feel a little bit better because I understand what's going on. And again, when I first stepped into a calorie deficit with my first coach many years ago, I wasn't taught this. So again, I was just confused. Why is my body responding this way? So your body does not want to change. Whether you're putting on muscle, whether you're increasing calories, whether you're decreasing calories, whether you're losing fat, whatever you are doing, your body does not want to change. Your body literally can be happy with kind of just like laying down all day. Like obviously you'll start to feel a little bit different because you're used to it, but your body doesn't want to go to the gym. Your body doesn't want to be sore. Your body doesn't want to change. When we go into this deficit, it will slow down. And it will send you signals to tell you to stop changing. All right. When you get hungry, why do we get signals that we are hungry in a calorie deficit? Right. Our calories are pretty low. It makes sense that we get hungry. And your body's saying, like, hey, I don't really like this. Please feed me. All right. These things are normal, but we are kind of making it change. And this is also something that in the social media, like, it's kind of frowned upon. Like, if you're hungry, you need to eat. Yes, to an extent. But sometimes when you're in a period of your deficit, you are going to get hungry and there's literally no way around it, right? When we start to notice, and you've probably experienced or you will experience, why do we track how high or low your hunger is, right? If you're saying high after week like 8, 10, all right, now we know, okay, a diet break is coming soon, right? So another thing is it will get irritable. You will get hungry, tired. It will do things that you wouldn't even think about. So irritability, that's something that happens to me. When I'm hungry, when I'm in a deficit, when my energy is a little bit low, I sometimes can't be bothered with like anything. I just get very irritated very quickly. But again, I remind myself like in a calorie deficit. Obviously for me, it's a lot easier because I've done this before. That's why I kind of want to just educate you on what can happen so that when it happens, you're not like, oh, why am I in this mood? Like, you're like, this makes sense. And now I can do the things that can help me feel better. All right. And for the things that you can't even think about, your metabolism is just a wild thing. From talking slower to blinking less, to standing less, to vice versa. When you start to increase calories and all of a sudden you're talking more and you're getting up and you're doing all of these things, like your metabolism adapts to all of that. Oops, sorry. All right, your metabolism adapts to all of that. So why do I say that it's so important for us to fuel our bodies? Because you're slowing down your metabolism in such silly ways. Like if you are under eating, you're really just making your body, you're really just making your body, Amra, why does it not stop? Give me a second. Let me mute that. Cool. Sorry about that. Coach Amra is updating me on things. Let me pull the lesson back up. Where'd it go? Okay. And we're back. Let me open that up and share my screen. Again, I apologize. Oh, there it is. It was there the whole time. No, I don't know where it is. All right, so we're gonna do that one again. All right, so last part about this, the metabolism slowing down. We need to make sure that we are not under fueling throughout this process, because again, what is the point of making your body talk slower, stand less, all of these things, blink less? But when we know this, again, we can work with it. So let's just get into it now. Number one, when your deficit starts to suck, ask for help. So this is actually something I've been talking to with other coaches as well this last week, is why is it so difficult to ask for help and be vulnerable? For a lot of us, this is not something that we're used to. Personally, for me, I'm like super hyper independent. And I know a lot of you are hyper independent, because some of you will talk to me like once a week, boom, you ask a question, boom, and like that's it. You're just very independent. Some people communicate a little bit more, right? Different styles. But for some people, it is very hard to ask for help. And it's very hard to communicate and be vulnerable with the things that you are experiencing. But it is very important that you do communicate with your coaches, with myself, with Coach Amra. All right, we are here to help you, and we understand what you are going through. Everyone is different. And if something is difficult for you, just ask. There's been so many times where, like, for example, I'll bring up Christine's story. It was a couple months ago. She had mentioned like, Nicole, I don't understand. Like, why am I so hungry? My calories aren't even that low. Like, I'm super frustrated right now. Like, this is difficult. I feel like I'm putting in all this effort because like things just don't fit my calories sometimes. Right? Body is changing, right? So obviously things are working. And I literally told her, like, your calories are mad low. Like, you're freaking out because you think that you shouldn't be feeling this way, because I don't know what calories you're comparing it to, but your calories are very low. And when I told her that, she was like, oh shit, like I didn't really consider that as low. But I was like, yes, this is reassurance that this is low. So let's not freak out, and let's justify what you're feeling and know that that's normal. So there's nothing wrong with you again. All right, now asking for help as well with your partners, with your family, with your friends, being vulnerable. All right, do these people around you know what you are doing right now? When they don't, and I know sometimes it's hard to open up about that, it can make this process a lot more difficult as well, because you have to make adjustments, and you kind of make adjustments on the low, and they don't really know what's happening, and they see sudden changes. But just communicate with them what you are doing right now. How can you get them on the same page, right? Sometimes I talk to you guys about like certain languages, right? Like, don't talk about like the whole tracking and the calories. Just be like, oh, I had this conversation on Friday. Like, you haven't been able to hit your protein goal. You've been hitting like 80 grams. And your partner is kind of like confused. Why are you putting all this effort in? And they don't understand. Just be like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Like, I've been working on this. And today I hit 120 grams of protein. Like, I'm so happy. They have no idea what that means. They don't know what the grams means, but they just know like, cool, you weren't having enough. Now you're having more. I am happy, right? Put it in that type of language, but do communicate with them. And another thing is, you are not on another one of those failed diet approaches. For a lot of us, and a lot of us that have been maybe with partners for a significant amount of time, we've been in diet culture, we've tried these fads, we've gone through detoxes, we've done things that didn't work for us. And your partner's so used to you saying like, oh, I can't eat that, or like, oh, I'm on a diet and this and that. And now you're going through a process that kind of, to the outside, it does seem like that. Right? It seems like, oh, she's putting in all this effort. She's on another diet again. Like, she's just going to do this for the rest of her life. Like, no, you're not on that anymore. And it's important, again, to communicate what you're doing right now, although it is a process. All right. And a lot of them are willing to help more than you think. So when you communicate with that, I remember my brother once made me breakfast, and he put on a little piece of paper, like all the calories of whatever products he used. And I thought that was the cutest thing in the world, because like, that's so nice. Like, I don't even think I was tracking at that time, but like, that's so nice. So when you communicate with them, they will be willing to help. So again, communicate with us, communicate with your coaches, reach out, be honest. You don't have to lie about how many calories you're having. If you're having trouble hitting your calories and you're going over, or things are happening, you don't have to lie about it. You don't have to try to tweak it into your spreadsheet. Like, we are here to help. You don't have to pretend like you're not hungry or you're not cravings. Sometimes I'll even ask you guys, like, it'd be like week 16. I'm like, you're really not hungry? Like, no. I mean, sometimes it really is that way, but if you're hungry, if you're feeling some cravings, like, just communicate that. The more honest you are, the more your coaches can know what's really going on. And we can know when you need a diet break, when you need a tracking break. I'll bring up Christina again. When she came to me and she was like flustered with like all of this and the low calorie, I'm like, hey, just take a week off from tracking. Or I think we took a couple of days off from tracking, like a weekend while she was away. She came back and it was like, okay, now I can get back on track. Little things like that, we are here to help you with that. And also when you need refeed days. To higher calorie days, and it just lets the body, lets the mind just get a little break. All right, so communicate with us. And again, when you need a free meal, when you just need to go out to eat and you're not tracking. Number 2, let's talk about some food hacks. So these are things, again, with the hunger, this is usually what really makes the deficit suck. Hunger. It is normal. Your body does not want change. It will send you signals when it's uncomfortable. It will start to slow down. So we need to trick it. And we need to breathe. We're so used to like having an end of like restriction that when we get hungry, we get so frazzled and we want to eat everything and we want to pick and we want to do this. Breathe. You're about to have your next meal. Slow it down. Remember that your body is sending you all these signals because it doesn't want to change. But we need to stay composed and we need to make our next meal that you have tracked, right? Because we track in advance, put it together. Or you can also do some of these little food hacks just to keep you full. Some of you do them already. In terms of drinks, all right, seltzer, diet soda. Personally, for me, when I'm feeling hungry, it hits on random days or when I have a really hard workout the day before. For dinner, sometimes I'm still feeling hungry, but I don't have a lot of calories to work with, and I have it with seltzer. And I notice the difference of when I have it with seltzer versus when I don't. I just feel more full. Same thing with diet soda. That can be a great thing when you're going out to eat, right? Or when you're having it in the house, right? Both 0 calories, not a big deal. Same things with tea or with coffee. Coffee, obviously, tea. Well, both. Be careful with the caffeine at whatever time. But same thing at night when, okay, I'm still a little hungry. I don't have a lot of calories to work with. Have some tea, right? Relax. Get that little craving away, right? Helps you feel as well. Now, when it comes to every meal, this is obviously something that we work on, but make sure every meal has protein, fiber, fats, and we're doing complex carbs. All right, so potatoes are going to keep you more full than rice. I can even put it on here. So anything really like crunchy is going to help you stay more full than anything soft. An apple is going to keep you more full than a banana. Steel cut oats are going to keep you more full than regular oats. Potatoes are going to keep you more full than rice. So these are the complex carbs. I have a lesson on this, on all things like hunger, right? And just breaking down like the actual foods. If you guys want that, just let me know, or you can just scroll up and you'll probably find it. Crunchy foods as well allow your brain to slow down and send fullness signals. So anything like rice cakes, carrots, even chips. Some people are like really big chip people, and I understand that. So like maybe you could get like one of those lavash pitas. I used to do this all the time. Get a lavash pita, put it in the air fryer, break it up into pieces. It turns into like little nacho chips, but it's something about the crunch for a lot of people that they just need. So let's fulfill that as well, because that's going to help with those cravings. Cinnamon, adding cinnamon to things, to apples, to oats, to your coffee helps a bunch. It helps regulate your blood sugar, which is going to keep your hunger at bay from craving more. So those things like coffee, for a lot of people too, I'm sure you've heard like that thing, like coffee is not breakfast. People think that coffee is breakfast, but it's really because you have coffee and it just blunts your hunger for a little bit, right? Sometimes that can help us though, right? Same thing with the tea, same thing with the seltzer. And of course, controlled portions over your cravings. Sometimes there is like, you can have the potatoes, or you can have the rice, or you can have the sandwich, you can have the rice cakes, but nothing is going to fill you as much as just giving into that craving a little bit. So if you really, really, really are craving a cookie, have the cookie. And I promise you, even if you didn't have the full portion of rice or potatoes or whatever, that cookie is going to make you feel full just because you've been really craving it. So have it controlled. Number 3, planning. I'll go through this one quick because we just did this lesson the night before. I will say this every single time for the rest of my life. We should be thinking, what am I eating tomorrow? And we should be planning that out. A lot of times when we get hungry and we just feel like this process is so difficult is because we make ourselves so decision fatigued. Have you ever thought of your outfit the day before? Or when you have a busy day, like you have an event and you plan your outfit? Why do you plan your outfit? To make your life easier. So you don't have to think about it. So you're not running to the mirror. So you're not trying things on and what am I going to wear? You already know what you wear, and that just takes away the decision fatigue. We want to take as much decision fatigue as you can, because in the morning you have decision fatigue to get ready for work, and then you have to work, and then you have so many things. So the last thing that we want to think about is, what am I eating and what is going to be the portion of everything? It's more so the portion than what you're eating. When you go into intuitive eating, the what you're eating just becomes a lot easier because you don't have to make sure the portions all fit. So the day before, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Think about what you're going to eat, add it all to your app, and then boom. This very simple thing is going to help your deficit, again, suck less. And it's going to make you feel less hungry because you're not thinking about food so much. When you don't track, you're always thinking about like, ooh, is my food later going to fit? Or if you don't track and then you track at the end of the day, you feel bad because you didn't hit the calories that you were supposed to. A little bonus with this is front loading your day. So hunger starts to hit, and we want to make sure that you're not just hungry all day, right? So front loading your day. This is not an easy habit, especially for anyone who has struggled with trying to hold off your hunger. I'm just a night eater. I'm just a night snacker. So like I have to save my calories. The reason that you are all of that is because you just don't eat earlier in the day. And I am 100%. I did that for so long. Like I even tried like intermittent fasting so that my biggest meal was at night, and I would just hold off, and then eat all at night. Eating during the day not only makes your body run more efficiently on fuel, but it's going to help your hunger as well. And what you're going to find is at the beginning, this is very difficult because you're going to mentally want to pick more at night, but you're going to find that at the end of the day, when you have your last meal, even if it's a smaller meal, you're really not that hungry. And when you continuously do this, you start to enjoy eating throughout the day. And again, food is love. We start to enjoy eating throughout the day. All right, so eat more to start your day. Have a bigger breakfast. Eat when hunger hits. Today, whatever reason, I was hungrier than usual for lunch, and I just had lunch a little bit earlier. What I found was it held me off for the exact time that it would have if I had had lunch a little bit later. So I usually have it like 1:30. I had it like 12:45. But still, when it was time for my second meal, it was about the same time that I usually eat that next meal. All right, just make sure that we are not staying hungry all day because that's going to drive you insane. And it's going to make you run slower. We go back to metabolism. We're hungry. And then we start to move slower. And then we start to like talk less, and we're driving all tired. When if you eat, your metabolism now starts to thrive, and you thrive with energy, and you're dancing in the car and you're talking to people. And now we're actually putting those calories to use rather than at the end of the day. And then you just sit and you go to sleep. All right. Not saying that eating at night makes you fat. No, but we are just trying to utilize fuel more effectively and have, again, a better relationship with food. And I just mentioned number 4. So we got 2 more things. Habits when it comes to making this deficit suck a little bit less. Walking after your meals. It takes about 20 minutes for your brain to be like, oh, I'm starting to get a little full. Some of us can eat a meal or a thing in like 10 minutes. So you might think that you're still hungry, but really you haven't really let it sit. I'm sure you felt this too, where you're like so hungry, you eat a lot, and then you think you're hungrier, and then you eat more, and then you're like really full. Go for a walk after meals. Eat on smaller plates. if your deficit starts to go down and you start to get a little hungry, that visual aspect of you eating with the smaller plate rather than seeing like a small portion on a big plate makes a big difference. Be more present with your food. This is also going to help your hunger as well. Eating without distractions, not scrolling on your phone, not watching a YouTube video, not watching TV. Most of your meals should be eaten without distractions. Again, you will notice a big difference when you pay attention to your food and in your satiety versus like, you probably experience this as well. You're doing a million things and you look down, your food's over. You're like, I barely even enjoyed that. All right. This will help you eat slower. Put your fork down in between bites. Enjoy every single bite of the food, especially all the foods that you enjoy. That good meal that you just had, your breakfast, it tastes good. Taste it. What does every single bite taste like? Try that tomorrow and see what you start to notice differently and how your fullness is different as well. Getting enough sleep as well. When we don't sleep enough, you are more likely to overeat the next day or get more cravings. And then, of course, your weekends. When it comes to a calorie deficit, weekends and eating out tends to be the hardest thing for people. One thing that I'll say is like, again, this is just a for now thing. This brings me to a story that Joanne had reached out to me and she had said like, I see you eating out and like you're going out with your friends and you're doing all of this and like, why is this so hard for me? Like, I feel like I can't do that. I'm like, I'm not in a calorie deficit. You are. Again, that's where the coaching kind of comes through. I'm like, I'm not in one, so it's easier for me to eat out because I have a lot more to work with. Now you see her and she's eating out, she's doing all these things on her story, like, and it's nice. But at one point, obviously, she's in a calorie deficit and it's difficult eating out. So eat out as little as possible. All right. Choose low calorie alcohol and prioritize your food as much as possible. Same when you're in a calorie deficit, you probably don't want to drink as much because alcohol is not really going to fill you up so much. Skip things that you don't really need. So if you go out to eat and there's bread on the table, maybe don't have the full piece or just kind of pass on it. Pass on like the chips or like whatever you can skip on, like bread, sauces, extra cheese, and then always making those healthy swaps. Veggies on the side. Pick a healthy food place. I went out to eat this Saturday and in my head, I was like, I have one option that I'm going to go to. I really like this place and it's going to be the easiest to stay to my calorie deficit. Usually, I'm a foodie. I go out to eat all these like places, but I don't have that many calories to work with. When we realize that, and when we look at it as a more positive thing, it's easier to do. And 5 is going to be the mindset. So this is the last section of this. All right. You control how you view everything in life. I mentioned this week on the group. I posted about like even walks in the morning. Some people are like, walks are so boring, or like, I don't want to go for a walk. Like, romanticize your walk a little bit. Start to look at like things that interest you, the houses. Maybe you're into, I don't know, that I'm into plants. So I look at new plants and I've been looking recently for mushrooms. I didn't find any good ones today, but I look for cool mushrooms and it just makes my walks a little bit better. But you control everything or how you view everything. So you can think anything is miserable. And it is. Going to the gym right now is so miserable. It's this. I have to meal prep. So miserable. It is. It is because you literally just said that it is. So it is. But you can think anything is empowering. And it is. Going for a walk in the morning makes me feel so good. I'm so happy that I can move my body. I'm so happy that I can meal prep. It's so good for me. Like, it's really going to help my day. And all of this little shifts in your head makes the biggest difference. So if you want something to be miserable, it 100% is going to. And if you want something empowering, it is going to be as well. Same thing when you're walking into the gym. You could pretend everybody is looking at you and they think that you're a dweeb and that you have no idea what you're doing and that you're super weak. And that is really the reality that you are creating in your head. Or you can walk in there and just be like, oh, people probably are so empowered because I just started my fitness journey and it's really cool that I'm here along with them and they're all really advanced and I'm here as a beginner and it's really cool. They think I'm really cool. Then that is the reality. So start to look at this process as hard work that you are putting in, as challenge to your mind and body, right? All of these things are happening, right, that I just mentioned before about the science and how your body responds. And it is a challenge for your body. You are pushing through this. Sometimes I'm on walks and when I'm really feeling hungry, my body starts to slow down and I'm like, nope, keep going. And before, years ago, when I didn't know this was happening, I was like, why am I so tired? Now I'm like, all right, keep going. Right? Remember your phase. Remember that this too shall pass. At some point, maybe you're on 1,500 calories or whatever amount of calories, but at some point, we are bringing you up, and then you're going to be fighting me in the opposite direction because you're like, no, Nicole, 2,000 calories is way too much. I can't be eating this on a day-to-day or XYZ. All right, I'm just throwing out numbers here. Remember your phase. When you're in a calorie deficit, you're in a calorie deficit, and there's nothing like that's why we want to make it a positive experience. We've never really experienced that. We've never filled it with foods that we love. We've never looked at it in a positive light. It's always been like lettuce and tomato, and this sucks, and I'm going to do this for a week, and I have no idea what I should be doing after that. Like, you're in a phase right now, and we are going to do this. We're going to do it right, and then we're going to get you out of that, so that you don't have to track, so that you don't have to go through this. My favorite thing ever is like when clients graduate and they'll message me however many months later or however long later, and they'll be like, still good, like still not dieting. It's so crazy. Everybody around me is saying XYZ, and like I feel good. Like, the phase will come, but for now we got to work hard. Body changes are a science. That's my favorite thing. I just view it as a science, right? It is a calorie deficit. It is what it is. My body does respond this way. So if you have tried all of these things, if you tried the food hacks, if you're planning out your meals, if you're having your seltzer, if you are looking at it in a positive light, if literally everything, again, reach out. Be honest with us. We will give you a diet break when you need. We will bring your calories up when we need. We see how your body is responding, right? You don't have to seem like everything is rainbows and butterflies, even if it's not even like your body is there, maybe mentally, maybe work, maybe anything is going on in your life. Like, reach out. We are here to help. And there will be times that maybe you reach out with certain things and we tell you to keep it pushing. Like, sometimes people go away so many times and they have like trip after trip after trip, and I'm like, hey, this trip, we gotta like really be on it, because you just go on a lot of trips. Like, we need to make sure you have so many events. I need you to just push through. And sometimes it's the opposite, where I'm like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about tracking. All right. So us as coaches, we are here to help you with this. So if you are ever struggling with your calorie deficit, the last thing that we want is for you to just be, fuck it. This is way too hard. Like, I'm just not going to do this anymore. Like, I'm just going to eat whatever. Like, no, that's not what we want. So when you communicate all of these things, we can help you. But again, try that. Try the seltzer with your dinner. Try eating more throughout the day. Try all of these things, because they do work and they do help. Right? Ultimately, again, what we are trying to do here is help you have this better relationship with food. And for us to not see calorie tracking and calorie deficits as something that is like so like demonized. But it's crazy, because you probably follow a lot of fitness influencers and they put like calorie deficit day and like this, and then they make it seem like rainbows and butterflies, and you're like, why is it so hard for me? Like, they have gone through this, they've experienced all of this, they're doing all the hacks, they understand what the body is doing. All right, so again, when we take away that emotion from the process, and when we take away, or we embrace the suck, we don't even take away the suck, we embrace it, we can start to enjoy the food that's on our plate. Even if it is a salad and we, wanted some rice, but just doesn't fit my calories today. Like, we start to embrace it a little bit more, and we can enjoy those foods and have love for those foods. So that is it for today. And of course, why we are always here is to work towards that. Food is love. Food is love, and we need to always remind ourselves of this and try to continue to have a better relationship with food, and strength is power. Even when you have to embrace the suck of not wanting to go to the gym, and you go anyways. Ooh, cool. Oh my God, it's getting so dark so quickly. All right. Any questions about today's lesson? Any questions? Anything you want to share? I really thought that today was going to be quick. Then I look at the time and I'm like, damn it. I just get into it. I get real into it, and then I just like to kind of throw it in all different ways. Any questions? Anything you want to share? If not, we can also wrap it up. If you have anything that works for you that maybe you want to share also with maybe somebody that's starting their journey, feel free to mention that as well. Maybe a change in mindset, maybe a change in the way that you structured out your food, anything that resonated with you, all ears. No, okay, cool. So we'll just keep that lesson simple, right? It's straight to the point, more nutrition education, not so much on the mindset things. If you haven't watched last week's lesson, whether you're watching this recording or whether you're on here live, one of my favorite lessons, and honestly one that I got like the most feedback on, please watch that lesson. A lot of you that watched the recording on that as well, you reached out and like just mentioned like what are your triggers. I even got on a call with one of the members and we just went through like trigger by trigger. Why are these things triggering you? How can we work away from them? How can we start to feel better? So if you haven't watched that lesson, again, one of my favorite lessons, please do watch that. But I will leave you with that today. Thank you so much for coming to this call. Remember that food is love and strength is power. And I will talk to you this week. Bye.